you two handsome guys?
September is typically a month where we have like a lot of like art
I'm the little one.
and we kick off the new shows. So it's a time when I also try and just fill the gallery with as many Calgary-based artists as I can. Karin and I have been having some studio visits because she is in the arts collective behind the gallery. And I was really drawn to these works for a number of reasons. One of my first shows as a gallerist was for Judy Chicago, who handled a lot of kind of, you know, feminist, sometimes like lowercase feminist art, sometimes all caps. And I was struck by these, and I certainly see, you know, I see kind of an homage to her and how she kind of dealt with like body politics. So without further ado, I'm just going to let her speak a little bit, and then I might again ask a few questions. So please, without further ado.
Thank you, Christine. First of all, I just want to say I am like so honored for the invite to this gallery. Christine is such a boss lady, and it just makes my little feminist heart sing to be, you know that I'm a part of this and we're working together. And anyway, thank you, Christine.
My pleasure.
I appreciate you.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So my work, generally, conceptually, it centers itself around the politics and poetics of the body. With these works, I feel like they're operating in a way that they're straddling both fantasy and decency. Yeah. So with these, I don't want to say too much. I would like to just like open the floor.
Yes, like open it up.
Questions.
I know exactly.
Yeah.
You have your thing.
I have my thing, but I don't want to put my dirty thoughts into your brain. So if you want to ask me questions, that's fine. I mean, they're all entirely. The medium is airbrush, which is a new mode.
Well, and
for
I'd
me.
like you to talk a little bit about airbrush because
Sure.
it is. I know historically, like it had its time, and it was exciting for me to see somebody using airbrush in a really unique way, to be honest, because it kind of had its time, and then people kind of like a lot of artists like kind of just dropped it. We're like on to pure painting again, so it's really
a real bitch of a
yeah. But it's
to be
exciting
honest.
to kind of see the effects that you get, right? Like just that soft gradations and.
I mean, that's what I love about it. I feel like it lends itself to that fantasy element of what I'm trying to create. So, yeah, I love it. I really do. I feel like it's sort of like almost a collaborative process where, you know, it adds that little bit of magic to the pieces. But so they are pretty much, it's sort of like photoshopping manually. You're working in layers when you're developing the imagery, and so that it becomes much different as far as like a typical traditional painter. You can cover the canvas, but with airbrushing, you really have to think about it in terms of like layers. It's like it is photoshopping. So
And very thin layers too, right? Because let's be honest, like you're kind of almost seeing pure paint, especially in the first couple, right? They're a little bit lighter. I shouldn't say the third one, but I know you kind of play with the background texture a lot more.
Well, the background texture is all like it's an old like lingerie item I have that I just cut up basically and just used as a sort of stencil to spray through. And then I just, in this, I really wanted to kind of work on these kind of California sort of sunset kind of ombre colors. I love the effect of what the airbrush can do, right, in those terms, and this little bit of sparkle. And I mean, it's soft, right? You want erotica to be soft. You want it to kind of, it lends itself to the conceptualism of it as well. So, yeah.
And one other thing I wanted to, because I know we kind of talked about this a bit in your studio, and I love the fact that they're blue, but it is interesting because another artist that I work with, Daniel Barclay, like he did a number of figures that were in these kind of blues, like kind of skim milk kind of blue tones, right? It's very curious, but again, I know it lends into a bit of like the fantasy too. But
well, and there's like universality, right? Like when it's not like it can be, it's a fantasy, right? It doesn't have to be, So I love the blue too. I do see that a lot. Like I know that there's other takes on that, like in Hinduism, there's the blue bodies and all of that, and and in some weird kind of way, I'm not that I'm trying to tap into this or anything, but they become these kind of feminine kind of idols almost for me, like together when they're all stacked, they become sort of more powerful than the singularity of them, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I'm really proud of them. I feel like they can speak on their own without me being the
well, yeah, and it's a series.
You know?
It's in progress. I know that you are still kind of working on it. So
yeah, so I have in my studio right now have like this stack of 4 as the next one, and each one has its own character, which is also kind of surprising and exciting for me. You know,
I
see
agree.
what I'm, you know, what I can uncover with each one. Also, I should mention, like, as I'm new to airbrushing, I've only been doing it for about 6 months. So with each one, I've kind of set up different technical challenges with each piece. So I think that's part of the reason they have a different characteristic.
Right.
So,
Yeah. You kind of figure, which is the whole point of, you know,
it's part
playing
of
with
being
the
an artist.
exactly.
You know, we're always taking risks, and if you're not doing that, you shouldn't be comfortable, right? And I definitely am not. Like, I don't try, you know,
No, but I agree.
You know, when you're settling, it's
If
like,
you're too comfortable, then it's kind of, well, the work can start to lack that excitement, right? Because it's like, this is easy.
Right.
I'll just make it happen, you know? Whereas when there are, said, these kind of different technical challenges and also, like, so the subject matter I know can be difficult for a lot. Like when I had that show for Judy Chicago in like 2007, I know there was like a whole room of the gallery where I felt there was a lot of hard discussions that happened between like parents and children. But it also made it really interesting because she similarly used flower iconography and as a kind of a soft and gentle way of like kind of introducing people to kind of erotica, and
but from a female gaze, right? And I think that's what is so different. Like, I mean, we've all grown up in this like patriarchal context, you know, and for me, part of like that was not being apologetic, not being sorry, and so for me, I'm like these works are kind of stepping into this. Into myself, into my own agency, into me, like owning my own gaze, and
100%.
Yeah, that's how they feel. And this one for me, this one, Alexander Calder, he has this beautiful mobiles, and I wanted it to be kind of like this, almost like a love letter, like something just, you know, that's what it's called in Pieces Over You. It's just kind of like this sort of fantasy, but then also like the mobile,
It works. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Karen? Yes, behind you. Move on. He's not allowed because he is the son.
Do you have a favorite both in the way of the actual progress of making it, but also how they come out?
My favorite? No, they're all my children. You know this. I don't pick favorites.
I love that.
Tell me you're wearing a mask and have great ventilation.
I'm wearing a mask. I have okay ventilation. Yeah.
I airbrush too, and it's like, I got purple dust building up everywhere.
Right, yeah.
And I've got good system,
I
and
have
it's
to take a
terrible.
lot of breaks, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yeah. No, I'm thankful that it's water-based, so, right, yeah, but I hear you. Yeah.
Joanne has a question.
Because you do have sort of a risque subject matter, do you ever find yourself like holding back in the painting due to like that social conditioning or the risque, or is it something that you battle, like getting comfortable in that zone, or like?
Absolutely, yeah. This has been such a process of, like I said, of stepping into myself. Thank you for that question, Joanne, because it's been like I feel so brave, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, definitely. Okay, I'll give you one example. Like with Beauty Queen, there was a moment where I'm like, okay, I have to paint these vaginas. I had to do this, and I want them to be beautiful. And it was just like, okay, because these ones I sort of like, I'm like, just lips, vaginas, okay. But then this one I actually went in with the paintbrush, and I pulled it over.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely a moment of risk taking, which I'm glad I did it. It's a celebration of the female form too.
Yeah.
I love the way they look, honestly. Like,
Well, yeah, just to mention, tie it back to again, different, but the same with Diane Gordon. Like, it paints a lot of male nudes, and similarly, there is a lot of whispering in the gallery. We have those up because it is. But at the same time, I've always said to people, it's, you know, like the Sistine Chapel has a lot of male genitalia on it, so it's
our bodies.
it's content, exactly. But at the same time, it is, you know, we are in this area of the world where, like, I like to think that, you know, opinions are changing too. It was exciting, like I said, it was also very exciting to work with Judy Chicago at that show because she, again, like, you know, when she's in her 80s now and is still just kind of growing up.
She's a feminist pioneer, you know, and like
very much
paving the way for all of us, really, for
yeah, it's like, why doesn't it have a place on, you know? Any other questions? I know I'm just kind of yakking on, but
so would you like us to be less about representational paintings or conceptual paintings? Is it feminist, sort of feminist gaze, or what is it that you like? For us to
honestly, I'm not worried about what personally the audience takes from it. You know, I have no control over that, right? I actually like, you know, have my own interpretation of it. But I mean, definitely it is underpinned by a feminist perspective, but also like it's fun. It's meant to be playful. It's meant to be joyous. It's meant to be erotic. You know, it's meant to be all the things. I don't want it to be.
there's like angry feminist art. These are not. Like, these are.
I don't try to be funny.
They make me smile. They're not like, you know, they're not like, oh, I feel guilty looking at this. It's more like, these are fun, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, we all continue to you know, that's 100%. Everybody's utilized. So I think that it's like in that way.
Well, then, until everyone's getting restless, let's get some refills. If you have questions for any of the artists, they're all going to be here for like another hour. Or come back on Saturday.